Good morning, wrestling fans. Today is Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. Lance Brock here for today's episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. Hope everyone is having a pretty awesome Thursday morning so far. Reminder, there is a new episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic now available from last night, talking about last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, which Tony Khan did have an announcement. I wouldn't really say it wasn't a major announcement, but I have to admit it was an announcement where if I could actually participate in this announcement he was talking about, or event that he was talking about, I would probably think it was the biggest news ever. But it was about the tickets for All In London 2 going on sale next year at Wembley Stadium. I want to say, was it September 25th? Or no, August 25th. Sorry, August 25th, 2024. Like I said, I'll probably be at home watching it. Hopefully they'll have a deal, some kind of streaming deal worked out with Max or something by then. Or at least I hope so anyway. But for right now, I am excited about it, don't get me wrong, but if I was able to actually purchase tickets to the event and go there live in London, England, I would definitely be more excited for that. Also today, I have mentioned this a little bit on the podcast before. This morning, real quick, I just want to talk a little bit about the legal battle, the courtroom lawsuit thingy, whichever you want to call it, going on these days between WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, and MLW, Major League Wrestling. If for some reason you're not familiar with MLW, it is promoted by former WWE writer Court Bauer, who actually ran Major League Wrestling one time before as an actual indie promotion in Florida, I believe, at the Armory. Don't remember, it might have been Orlando, but he eventually folded the company and then came out with MLW Radio, which would be a podcast network where the first podcast he did, I believe, MLW Radio, was him and Conan together, and then would eventually bring on guys like MSL, Disco Inferno, and now Conan has his own Keeping It 100 podcast by himself. But if you remember, what one I listened to the most probably was, if you are a post-wrestling listener like I am, or actually for this one you have to mostly go back to the live audio wrestling days. I'm sure you remember the podcast that Court Bauer and John Pollock did each week, Bauer and Pollock, which was available on both the feeds for live audio wrestling and MLW radio. I used to listen to that, and I want to say that was bi-weekly, every 2 weeks that would come out, and I would listen to that every week, right when it first became available on iTunes. I would download, listen to that. That was my normal routine every week on a Thursday night. Then I'd listen to Colt Cabana's The Art of Wrestling. Excuse me, I paused it a little late, but back to MLW, ran it as a promotion. And then as the podcasts were getting popular, and I guess maybe the DVDs were selling too, and he started Wale Mania with the one rapper during WrestleMania weekend where they had a live stage show, things like that. And this eventually led to Court Bauer bringing back Major League Wrestling, at least for one night only, or at least at the beginning anyway, with the MLW One Shot iPay-per-view. And like I said, at first was supposed to be just a one night only thing, but it got pretty over, had a pretty good crowd, pretty good sized audience on the internet. So did one more show, which was supposed to be just another one-time only thing. Had Tony Schiavone in there at the beginning, had Jim Cornette, and then would eventually just bring back MLW full-time with MLW Fusion on beIN Sports, I want to say was the first TV network, and would have guys like veteran managers like Kevin Sullivan, who hosted a show on MLW radio with MSL, which I thought was kind of maybe one of the most underrated wrestling podcasts, MSL and Sullivan. That was great, especially when they would go back in the Wayback Machine and talk old stories about WCW. He would talk about different Nitro or pay-per-view every week. I definitely thought that was one of maybe the most underrated wrestling podcast there has been. Didn't really get as much as respect as it really deserves. But back to MLW, Tony Schiavone ended up leaving when he signed with AEW. Jim Cornette ended up leaving, and they had really good shows at the time on beIN Sports, like Fusion, and that was their weekly show, Battle Riot, and Never Say Never, I believe. And then eventually they would get the TV deal with Fusion, and they would be on Fight TV, ProWrestling.tv, and different kind of small TV networks and streaming websites, the free ones online, like that are on Roku and different things like that, they would appear on. And then speaking of streaming, there was talk not too long ago that they were going to have a deal with Tubi to air the weekly TV shows on there every week. Tubi, a free streaming platform, which is owned by Fox. So when this apparently was going to happen, was almost, according to MLW, I think, they thought it was pretty much a done deal, but Tubi last minute kinda said the deal is off, and Court Bauer thinks that WWE used their influence to get Tubi to back away from the deal. But I just want to say I do have Tubi, and there's not any current wrestling on there, but there actually is wrestling other than WWE, mostly like different best of things. There's actually like compilations of CZW, 3PW, some classic wrestling, and they have some DVDs on there like from before they were stars. They got AJ Styles, MJF, Jon Moxley, John Cena, just different things like that. Got some different pro wrestling documentaries. Also, like the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase's one is on there. I have watched just different ones like that. So, like I said, it's not current modern wrestling that's going to be trying to compete with WWE, but there is wrestling on Tubi, so that is a little different though. But I hear the lawsuit now is getting pretty intense, it seems like, and it could be pretty big. So I want to know in the comment section, what is your thoughts and opinions on this lawsuit? Do you side with World Wrestling Entertainment or Major League Wrestling? And who do you think's right? Who do you think is wrong? Also, let me know how you think this will work out. Will MLW win and actually get a big, I don't know if I would say big deal, but get a deal with Tubi? Because recently NWA made the announcement of a deal getting on the CW with NWA Power. But let me know what you think. Do you side with MLW or WWE on this one? Let me know in the comment section, either right here on Spreaker, YouTube, or whichever wrestling or whichever podcast website or app you listen to on. And I'll try to be back tonight with a new episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, talking all about tonight's Impact Wrestling on Access TV, the go-home show before Turning Point on Impact Plus tomorrow night, and tonight's Ring of Honor on Honor Club. Also, we'll be back tomorrow, though, first for the Friday episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. And new episode today drops at 4 p.m. of Anything Goes. And Anything Goes of episode of 360 Anything Goes. Just talking about anything I want, whatever comes in my mind. Today, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on Spreaker or wherever you listen to 360 Wrestling Podcasts. And that's all for today. Thank you for listening, everyone. Until I talk to you all tomorrow, have a great pro wrestling day.